On today's show, the Hawks sweep the Pacers in impressive fashion on Thursday and on Saturday. We'll dive into the second of those victories and more right now.
You are Locked On Hawks, your daily Atlanta Hawks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 1926 of the Locked On Hawks podcast. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you deep in the night here on a Saturday evening into Sunday. And today's podcast is brought to you by the folks at FanDuel Sportsbook. And right now, if you're a new customer, get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins at FanDuel. The place to go is FanDuel.com. To get started, I also want to encourage you at the top of the show, as I always do, to make us your first listen each and every day here at Locked On Hawks. Check us out and subscribe to the podcast anywhere you find your podcast. That includes Apple, Spotify, YouTube, etc. And I should say at the top of the show, if you're watching on YouTube, this will be a little bit of a shorter podcast because it's a challenge. I said on the last show I wasn't sure I was going to be able to do a show tonight, quite honestly, but I scratched and clawed, and I'm recording on an outdoor patio of a hotel. That's what life has come to on this Saturday evening, but I wanted to make sure I got the show to you by hook or by crook. So forgive me for background noise. I am outside. Forgive me for any internet connections. I try my best to get the best place available to me late into the night, post midnight on a Saturday into Sunday. But here we are diving into what became a really nice win for the Hawks, 120-118 over the Pacers on this Saturday. If you missed it, I dove into the game on Thursday in depth on this same show. Talking about that first good win for the Hawks, and the second one came today to sweep the Pacers in over a 3-day period. Also, the third win in the last 4 for the Hawks. They're up as many as 20 in this game, so it was comfortable at times, but it was not comfortable down the end. There was a rough third quarter for Atlanta, and then an injury to Trae Young. He did return from the quad contusion that he suffered in the third quarter, but it was not smooth down the stretch. The Hawks did, though, hold serve. They did trail briefly in the fourth quarter, but some big moments late. Quinn Snyder praised Onyeka Okongwu quite a bit after the game. I think justifiably so. There was a lot of positives in this game. Trae Young, Caris LeVert, Okongwu, probably the top 3 on that list. Dyson was also fantastic, as he almost always is, with 5 steals in this game. But a lot of positives to get into, and really kind of a two-way victory for the Hawks in a lot of different ways. So offensively, it was truly a tale of two halves. I don't like to overuse that too much. It's a kind of a trope at times, but it really was a tale of two halves. The Hawks scored 69 points in the first half. They had about a 140 offensive rating in the first half of this game, and then that came down to a 98 in the second half as they were kind of playing, basically holding on for dear life down the stretch. Most of that was poor shooting after halftime. They had 45% true shooting in the second half. That's tough to win, but they were able to hold on without shooting the ball well from 3 at all in this game. They actually did make their free throws, a nice change for the Hawks. They were 20 of 21 at the line in the game. And they got 62 points combined from Trae and LeVert. That was obviously massive. But, on the margin, they did rebound very well on the offensive glass in this game. 4 for Capella, 8 for Okongwu, 2 for Mann. They had 16 offensive rebounds as a team. That led to a lot of second chance points and a lot of production on that front. In fact, they finished with 23 second chance points in the game, as well as an advantage over the Pacers in points in the paint. And all of that went into the stew that led to the Hawks getting a victory on this night. Defensively, it was pretty good overall, honestly. They had a 116 defensive rating. That's not incredible, but certainly solid enough against a pretty good Pacers team. It was pretty rough in the third quarter, I thought, but mostly they held up overall. The big issues defensively were allowing 30 free throw attempts and also some very, very bad defensive rebounding at times in this game. But fortunately, the Hawks were able to kind of neutralize the rebounding because they were really good on the offensive glass as well. It was about a net neutral rebounding game, despite the Hawks being bad on the defensive glass. And the free throws, yes, they allowed 30 of them, but that was only 9 more than the Hawks took themselves. So the margins did, kind of end up pretty much even in shot attempts, shot volume, all those things. And the Pacers did narrowly shoot better from 3, but the Hawks were better inside the arc, and that ended up being a big factor in the win. They actually, I thought, late made a couple of really, really big stops at crucial moments to kind of hang on and get the victory. And we'll kind of dive into that now. So again, it'll be a little bit of a shorter show. It's an extra podcast technically on Saturday night. And I guess, again, I'm recording in an odd situation, but we'll dive in to how this game unfolded now. The Hawks led this one, of course, early on, 14-5 to begin the game. Trae Young was really tremendous in the first half of this game. He had 10 of the first 14 points. There were some turnover issues, I would say, after that, but it was pretty much smooth sailing in that first, quarter and a half of the game. There were a couple of questions about injuries coming in. Caris LeVert had knee inflammation, and Terrence Mann had a right quad contusion. They were both questionable coming into the game. Ended up playing the normal minutes, so hopefully that's a positive sign for the future. But I at least want to keep an eye on that moving forward for the Hawks. Vit Krejci was actually questionable for the game. He didn't play, but if you were unfamiliar with this, he had the lumbar fracture in his back. He's been out for about 3.5 weeks now, which is like right in line with when they thought he might be able to come back at the earliest. And I think he might play as soon as Monday. So a small positive thing there when it comes to Vit making a step forward. But rotationally, very similar to what it's been for the last little while. They ended up playing 10 guys because Keaton Wallace played in the second half because Trae got banged up. But before that, clear nine-man rotation. I thought it was the best Capella game for a while, especially in the first half. He was very good. Terrence Mann, Caris LeVert, and George Niang off the bench with Mo Gay starting. The Hawks had that big run to begin the game, and then they had an 18-4 run to close the first quarter to go up by 20 points. It was 39-19 in the opening period. And that was not sustainable. The Hawks shot the ball incredibly well in that period, 65% from the field. Trae did not miss a shot in the first quarter. LeVert was very good as well. They did have some turnover issues early on, but Indiana was not shooting well. Atlanta was shooting well. And if you ask me after the first quarter, would it become closer? The answer was going to be yes. Now, I wasn't sure that it was going to become as close as it did at the end of the game, but the Hawks definitely were not, outplaying Indiana by that much in the first quarter. It was just more of a shot-making barrage. But the lead went down pretty quickly from 20-9. Indiana scored a lot of points in a short period of time in the second quarter, 19 points in like 4.5 minutes. The Hawks did those stabilize in the middle of the quarter with an 11-3 run to go back up by 17 points. And they actually went into halftime up by 17 after Trae put up 26 points on 15 shooting possessions in the first half. He was brilliant. The Hawks were awesome as a team. Offensively, again, about a 140 offensive rating and a good defensive half as well, and pretty comfortable stuff there. After halftime, they allowed a 11-3 run pretty quickly. They were able to hold on a little bit in the third quarter at times, but they opened the third quarter shooting 6 of 17 from the field, and the lead was down to 6 pretty quickly. And then Trae Young goes down with injury. Now, it looked to be a exhale moment for the Hawks moments later. Trae goes down. He gets bumped in the left leg. He goes down in a heap. He tries to get up. He couldn't get up. I mean, he got up a little bit, but he kind of went back down and then went to the locker room kind of gingerly late in the third quarter. It was ruled pretty quickly that he was going to be available to return to the game with what the Hawks called a left quad contusion. He came back in early in the fourth quarter and looked okay, but not quite 100% physically. So that's not a surprise. It's a contusion. There's a wide range there, but the fact that he came in is obviously a really good thing. He was able to play again. Would it shock me if you missed the game on Monday? No, it wouldn't. But at least they seem to have avoided anything significant. And look, in that moment, like, he's the one guy right now, especially with Jalen Johnson out, that they just cannot afford to be without. Everyone knows that, and hopefully they dodged a bullet on that front. Trae came back in, as I said before, but the Hawks were only up by 7 at the end of the third quarter. It was a rough quarter overall. They shot the ball very poorly in that third quarter, 33% from the field. And defensively, it was their worst quarter of the game, I thought, in this spot. But in the fourth, they actually got a little bit tighter at times. They allowed an 8-2 run to open the quarter, missed 4 of their first 5 shots. Indiana took the lead very briefly mid-quarter. It stayed tight from there, basically like alternating like 2-point leads for like 3 or 4 minutes straight. Trae then went in for the lead with like 4 minutes to go, and then Trae hit LeVert for a lob layup to go by 4 with 3.5 minutes left. Into a timeout, you're in pretty good shape there. Not dominant shape, but certainly pretty decent shape. Then after the timeout, no one could score. For like 2.5 minutes, nobody scored. I think it was 3 consecutive empty trips on offense and defense for both teams. Good looks from both sides, honestly, on good open threes and shots at the rim, etc. Nothing was falling. And then Nembhard for the Pacers made a shot to get back within 2 with like 1:20 to go. Trae then got swarmed and then found Okongwu for an easy layup. That was a nice pass by Trae. Indiana answered that. Then both teams, the Hawks missed 2 shots that were pretty good looks. It could have gone up by 4. They didn't. Then they foul Miles Turner with 19 seconds to go, up by 2. Turner makes the first one, then misses the second one, and it goes out of bounds off the Hawks. So a really bad scenario there. Like, you're up by 2. You figure maybe you go to overtime, whatever. You don't want to allow 3, of course. Instead, you give up 1, and then Indiana gets the ball back. Bad beat there, but so the Pacers had the ball with a chance to take the lead, basically, late in the game. But they had a good defensive possession by LeVert at the point of attack, and then with Okongwu on the backside to kind of force a miss, get the rebound. It was a great play by him, I thought, down the stretch that Quinn praised him for post-game. Then the Pacers had to foul. They fouled Trae. the wrong guy to foul at that point if you're Indiana. Inexplicably, after Trae makes both free throws, Siakam takes a 2, down 3 with like 2 seconds to go. He made it, but it was the definition of a pretty bad decision, just like unawareness there to even take it 2 at that point in time. It wasn't over, but they fouled Trae like with 1 second to go. He makes the first one smartly, misses the second one with no timeouts. And Indiana can't foul, and that is the end of the game. So, look, it got dicey. This was certainly a coin flip game by the end, even with the Hawks leading it all the way through. But the Hawks made big plays. Trae made free throws. And again, all night long, they missed free throws. And the only missed free throw by the Hawks in the game was the last one on purpose. That was a huge factor in the Hawks winning a close game. So that's the long and short of it. All right, I'll stop there. I'll dive back in a second when it comes to the player-by-player evaluations and a little bit of a look ahead to what's coming up for the Hawks. And that's all coming up in just one moment. Today's show is sponsored by DoorDash. NBA fans, get ready. They swoosh, you save. Thanks to Dash Pass, every time a player draws 50 points or more in a game, you score a huge deal the next day. It's simple. With any player for 50 points or more in a game during this season in the NBA level, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order up to $10 off the next day from noon until midnight. After an epic 50-point performance, celebrate by ordering wings, pizza, or burgers from your favorite spots delivered straight to your door. Or perhaps you're not owl like I am and you actually need a midnight snack, you can actually use Dash Pass to grab something delicious while saving big. If you want lunch on the go, use Dash Pass as well to get favorite meals, $0 delivery fees, and reduced service fees as well. Plus, now if you save even more with this exclusive NBA offer. Sign up for Dash Pass right now and be ready to save. When a player for 50 points or more in a game, members with Dash Pass 50% off and order the next day up to $10 off. Just use the promo code NBA50 from noon until midnight at a 50-point game on eligible orders from participating merchants. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. March Madness is here, and FanDuel's giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. FanDuel's America's #1 sportsbook, and right now, if you are a new customer, get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins at FanDuel. That's $200 that's extra to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, and even who was cutting down the nets at the end of the tournament. I've got my eye on a few underdogs this year, and they're making it easy at FanDuel to get everything kind of be backed with spreads and totals, player props, game props, future bets, live betting, same-game parlays, and so much more. Beyond college hoops, of course, they have much more, including the NBA, the NHL, baseball, football, golf, tennis, soccer, of course, that includes domestic and international, F1, NASCAR, and so much more. And with tournament games happening almost every day, there's always something to look forward to and be excited about and to bet on at FanDuel. The FanDuel app is simple to use as well. When you win, you get paid instantly with no waiting around. Again, if you're a new customer, get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins at FanDuel. The place to go is FanDuel.com. And when you get there, get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. All right, and a shortened version of the podcast, one thing I failed to note earlier, the Hawks are now the 7 seed as of right now. Late Saturday night into Sunday, the Heat lost, the Hawks won. The Hawks are the 7 seed as of right now in the East. Now, they were the 9 seed just 2 days ago. So that's all. They're still benched up very closely. It's only a half-game margin between the Hawks and the Heat and the Magic, but that was obviously a big kind of back-to-back sweep win for the Hawks at 30-34. They're in a pretty good spot now. And by the way, also, if you're worried about the play-in, they are now 8 games ahead of the Sixers, who are currently the 11 seed in the Eastern Conference. So the play-in looks like a 99 percentile kind of thing. Obviously, they're not necessarily going to be closing on the 6th seed right now. For starters, there are 5.5 games behind the 6th seed. So that's not dead necessarily, but certainly not likely. No matter what, they're in good position now compared to where they were a couple of days ago. As for this game, the individual player stuff, a lot of positives here. Keaton Wallace played 2 minutes, did his job, came in, just kind of held the line with Trae out briefly in the fourth quarter. Nothing really to see there. Terrence Mann, 19 minutes, 6 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Had some nice moments, but also got a flagrant foul. Was a little bit rough, I thought, in the second half, to be very clear. I like Mann, but he is certainly, can be volatile at times, highs and lows, etc. But he was probably, to me, probably had the roughest game of the guys who played real minutes for the Hawks. Maybe you could say Richeche was not the best either, but I thought Mann was just like, kind of shaky in this game. Not terrible, but just what it is. Capella bounced back in this one, did miss 5 shots. I get that, but 8 points, 9 rebounds, assist, a steal, which just looked better physically. Part of what's been going on with Capella recently is he's not looked very good physically. He's looked to be a step slow, etc. And look, for veteran bigs, that kind of happens sometimes, but he looked better in this game, especially in the first half, was flying around. He made a real impact defensively, and we're able to kind of play well enough in the non-Okongwu minutes, which has been a problem the last few days. So a nice step forward for Capella in this game. George Niang was kind of quiet, 6 points, 4 rebounds, was plus 11 in the game, playing alongside Okongwu in some key moments at the 4. But I thought he was just fine. He didn't do anything big. I thought actually it was pretty clear to me that Indiana was intentionally trying to crowd Niang and Ricochet above all, basically, not letting those guys shoot a lot of threes. And it kind of worked, honestly. So I'm not sure if that's a blueprint for the future for other opponents, but it kind of worked in this game. Caris LeVert, big game here, 26 points off the bench. He was 6 of 10 on twos, 4 of 7 from 3. He's been great. I mean, Caris has been consistently good with the Hawks since he's arrived, giving them that bench push. Also, he's now scored 20 points or more in 4 of the last 5 games. He scored 15 points or more. I believe it's 6 of the last 7 games. So he's been very potent since arriving in Atlanta. A couple of low-scoring games. There was one against Indiana, actually, the last game before this. But he's been very, very obviously productive for the Hawks. And, been doing his job in a big way. To the starters. Mohamed Gay, 6 points, 2 assists, a steal, and 2 blocks. I think he actually struggled a little bit. I forgot to mention him earlier. He was a little bit rough, I thought, in this game. Defensively, he made some impact plays, as he is going to do a lot, basically. But also, his play-to-play consistency in this game was not the best. So he'll have better nights. I thought he was just okay for the most part. But I do think that, he was he did enough, we'll say. Elsewhere, Ricochet didn't play a lot, actually, in this game. 22 minutes, 6 points, 2 blocks. Didn't have a shot going. And again, he was crowded a lot offensively by Indiana's defense. I might have played Ricochet more in the 4th rather than man. But other than that, it was just a kind of a quiet game for Ricochet in this game. Okongwu was awesome. 16 points, 16 rebounds, 3 steals, and 3 blocks. That speaks for itself. He was really, really good in this game. And I've been saying it a lot recently. I mean, I mentioned this a lot on the show about a week ago. He had his best month ever in February, and all he's done since then is play arguably just as well or better. I mean, he had a bit of a hiccup game against Milwaukee, but he had 20 and 13 in the first Indiana game, 16 and 16 tonight, 16 and 12 against Memphis earlier this month. So, he's been playing like a top 20 starter in the league. He's been playing very, very well, and certainly was very good tonight. Dyson Daniels, 10 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 5 steals. His amount of 4 or 5 steal games this year is just off the charts. He just keeps racking up steals like it's going out of style. He wasn't a huge factor on offense in this game, but was fine, honestly. The Hawks ran a lot through him with Trae off the floor. And in this game, the Hawks actually managed to be okay with Trae on the bench. They were only -1 with Trae off the floor. So, that's good. You'll take that all day long, and that's a big part of that. And then Trae Young was really awesome in the first half. He wasn't incredible in the second half by any means, but 36 points, 8 assists, 4 rebounds. He did have 7 turnovers. That's too many. That's the one blemish for Trae in this game. But 36 points on 30 shooting possessions, efficient enough. He cooled off for sure after halftime, to be fair. Got banged up a little bit. Wasn't quite as good after halftime. But overall, the first half was lights out, and the full game performance was more than good enough to lead the Hawks to this victory. So, from here, the Hawks are off on Sunday. Still in the midst of this very, very long homestand. They still have 3 more games at home before going on the road again. It's a crazy stretch, 6 in a row at home, and they're playing Philadelphia on Monday. Now, this is one of those games where I will tell you, just like I do the other way around, nothing is ever assured in the NBA. When the Hawks are big underdogs, I will always tell you they have a chance. When the Hawks are big favorites, like they might be on Monday and Wednesday, they also can lose. If you don't show up and play well, you can lose. The Hawks have a tendency to play down to competition sometimes, etc. Philadelphia has been spiraling for a while now. They are the 11 seed, to be fair, but I believe they've lost 3 games in a row, and I think it's something like 11 of the last 12. They have been in a spiral. Embiid's out for the season, all those things. But they do have real NBA basketball players still. They've got Paul George if he plays. They've got Kelly Oubre. They've got Quentin Grimes. They've got Tyrese Maxey if he's available. All these things. So nothing is necessarily going to be easy, but it's a game that the Hawks will probably be favored in. They have not been a clear favorite betting-wise in a game in over a month. They will be favored on Monday, barring, look, if Trae's out, that changes things. So we'll circle that. Obviously, got made up tonight. We won't know anything about that till Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. But That's a winnable game and a chance to get the Hawks a third straight victory and 4 out of the last 5 if they can win that one. And by the way, after that, you got Charlotte on Wednesday. So nothing is assured there, but I will say you want to get greedy now. I came into the 2 games against Indiana saying, look, a split would be pretty good. Obviously, you want to win both, but once you win the first one, you want to sweep them, and they did that. And now you want to win 3 in a row and stack victories because the schedule does get easier for the Hawks from this point forward. I've made note of it a lot of times, but I'll say it again now. The Hawks just played a stretch of 11 or 12 consecutive games against playoff teams. Now, they weren't all great teams. There was some Miami in there. There was some Orlando in there, et cetera, but no bad teams. They haven't played a bad team since Washington on February 8th. It was literally a full calendar month without playing a single team that is bad. Not one. Now, obviously, you still want to beat some good teams too. The schedule does get easier from this point forward, but that does not mean you cannot play the same level of basketball. The Hawks are not immune of that. So keep an eye on that. But certainly the big takeaway from tonight's game, another very nice win. Yes, Halliburton didn't play for the Pacers again. I get that. The Hawks were small favorites in the game by tip-off, but holding serve at home, stacking up victories, and ending that little back-to-back with 2 wins against the team that you're trying to compete with is always nice. All right, that's all I have on this podcast. Please forgive me again for any background noise or whatever happened during this podcast, visual things, etc. I wanted badly to get the podcast to you. I don't like missing podcasts, and if I ever can not miss one, I try not to. So here we are, live from the outdoor patio in parts unknown. So please appreciate that if you possibly can. Subscribe to the podcast. Tell your friends about the show. Check us out on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. If you want to like the podcast there as you're watching it, please do. Also follow the show on Twitter/X at Locked On Hawks. Follow me there at BT Rowland. Follow my non-podcast work, I should say, at patreon.com/BT Rowland. Plus I'm on Blue Sky as well at BT Rowland. Thanks for listening, everybody. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you all next time.